Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is proof Ty Lue is making major coaching mistakes with the Clippers. So that's a topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, make sure you check out Dreamerspro Max, an online sports community that we created, a place where we can go and start basketball discussions, chat live during games. So many of the cool things. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check that out. We have that linked in the description below. Get 7 days of access because we're chatting every night on during the playoffs. And also make sure you go ahead and click the join button to join the channel, to become a member of our channel, and to receive loyalty badges from Dreamerspro. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So this has been a bit of a frustrating playoff experience for me. It really has been. Not because, I feel like, the Clippers are not, they don't have a good enough team to play well against the Mavericks. None of that. The reason is because the Clippers, I feel, are getting in their own way. I feel that all of this is because they've just been making some bad decisions. Now, going into these playoffs, I had two major concerns with the Clippers. Two major ones. The first one was, what lineups would the Clippers use in these playoffs? That was my first major kind of point of contention because I wasn't sure. Given the fact that there were so many players that were unhealthy throughout the regular season, players were coming back towards the end of the season, players were coming in and out of the lineup. I was like, okay, I don't even think they know what their 8 to 9 man rotation is going to be in the playoffs, which is problematic. If you look at the Dallas Mavericks, they're playing the same 8 to 9 players every single game. The same, because they already know what their playoff rotations are. Meanwhile, the Clippers are out there still trying to figure it out, which is a bad sign, and I'm holding the coaching staff responsible for that. That was the first issue. My second concern was, how would Paul George play in these playoffs? That was one of the major things we were looking at. How was Paul George going to play? Is he going to bounce back from his performance last season? Because a lot of people have been ridiculing the guy for his lack of, his lack of playoff. All-star play in the playoffs. And this year, I have to say, so far this year, Paul George has played very well for the Clippers. He has. I'm not going to tolerate any Paul George slander on this channel because he has played very well. If you don't believe me, let's go over Paul George's stats. Let's go over Paul George's stats this year in the playoffs. So Paul George this year for the Clippers in the playoffs, right? First of all, actually, let me give you a juxtaposition of these numbers versus last year. Last year in the playoffs, he averaged 20 points per game. He shot 39.8%, let's say 40% from the field to be kind, 33% from the three, 91% from the free throw line. Got you 6.1 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 1.5 steals. Those are not good numbers, and his numbers went down if you consider his his production in the regular season last year. This year in the playoffs, however, completely different story. He's averaging 25.5 points per game. He's shooting 50% from the field, making roughly 10 field goals per game. 50%. That's a 10% percentage point increase. His three-point shooting has been off. He's attempting 7.5, making 1.5. I expect that to get better as the playoffs progress, if they continue to be in the playoffs, and he starts getting easier looks, and he calms down, and he gets his nerves under check. He's shooting 100% from the free throw line. Paul George has not missed any free throws this year in the playoffs. He's getting you 9 rebounds a game, 5.5 assists, 1 steal per game. Paul George is playing well. Paul George is not the issue. I'm not gonna entertain any Paul George slander. He is playing well. He is performing at a higher level than he did in the regular season. The only thing that has been off is his 3-point shooting. So Paul George is not the problem. Let's just dispel that right now, and let's stop people in their tracks right now. Paul George is not the problem. Fantastic. Let's move on to Kawhi Leonard, who's my favorite player. Kawhi Leonard has been on another planet these playoffs, and I'm not surprised, because this is Kawhi Leonard. This is how Kawhi performs in the playoffs every time he goes to the playoffs, with the exception of that Game 7. So when you have people like these guys coming out, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just haters, and they wish that they can go back and erase his career, and they can't. Sorry, you can't. He's a baller. Last year in the playoffs, he averaged 28.2 points per game. He shot 48.9% from the field, 33% from the three. He shot 86% from the free throw line, got you 9.3 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 2.3 steals. All of his numbers went up in the playoffs. This season, in the first 2 games, he's averaging 33.5 points per game, playing roughly the same minutes last year. 33.5 points per game. That is almost 9 points higher than his regular season average. That's Kawhi Leonard. So when these dudes out there talking, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, about 9 points higher. That's Kawhi Leonard. He's shooting 53% from the field, 53.5% from the field, which is higher than his regular season average. 38.5% from the three, 84% from the free throw line, getting you 8 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 3 steals per game. 3. So when people are out there saying, oh, Kawhi, blah, 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 again, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't look at the numbers, and they're flat out haters. And all they do, these guys, they like to do is create narratives on people. That's their life, is to create narratives. They don't analyze anything. They just create narratives, and they try to plant narratives for people that they don't like. Go look at his numbers. Kawhi Leonard has been balling. But the problem with the Clippers is this, is the coaching. Their coaching staff, which is being spearheaded by Ty Lue, is doing a lousy job. He's doing a lousy job. I've been saying this all on Dreamerspro Max during these games. I said they've been running some silly lineups. No reason Zubac should be playing in this series. There's no good explanation as to why Rondo is not even starting and Reggie Jackson is getting more minutes than him. But some people feel, oh, no, it's just the Clippers. It's a curse. No, it's not a curse. You have a coach that's making silly decisions. So before I go too far, I want you guys to take a listen to an audio of Ty Lue admitting as much that the lineups that he's been the one choosing have been hurting the Clippers, and he also makes an admission that Terrence Mann needs to get some more minutes. Before we go too far, take a listen to him talking about that.
Ty, staying on the defense, obviously that first half was a bit of a track meet. That third quarter, you guys stopped scoring, and they started scoring more. Well, not scoring more, but they kept scoring. What do you feel from a lineup standpoint and from a scheme standpoint needed to be better in that second half?
I think, when we had to go small to get Zoo out of the game, then our offense kind of stagnates because they switched 1 through 5, and then we started playing one-on-one instead of having that dynamic roller. But like tonight, I just thought they took advantage of Zoo being on the floor, so we got to do something different, which we got back in the game. But we're going to watch the film, watch the tape, and we'll come back and see what adjustments we have to make.
Hey, Coach, I was actually going to ask you about Terrence. You put him into the third quarter. It seemed like his energy and his drive to the rim ability was able to kind of invigorate the team during his time on the floor. Is that kind of something we can expect from him going forward in terms of getting minutes in this kind of series where that's needed?
Yes, sir. I think it gives a guy who can switch on the floor, do more switching, especially with their second unit, do more switching, a guy who can rebound and attack, get to the basket, make plays. So, like I said, I was very impressed with how he played tonight.
In that soundbite, you hear him admitting that Zubac has hurt us out there. Duh! I was able to understand that after the first and second quarter of game 1. So how is it that you're not able to understand this and you're sitting on the bench? How? You're switching because they want to switch everything. And obviously Zoo's going to hurt you because Luka is going to be looking for him in the switch. Guys, this is not rocket science. He's the wrong guy to have on the floor. I wouldn't play him this series because Luka Doncic is taking advantage of him. You're hoping that Luka's going to start missing when Zoo's the one, if it's a Zubac coverage? What are you talking? They shouldn't be doing that. Secondly, I mentioned, why are you playing Reggie Jackson so much? Why don't you start Terrence Mann? He's a taller point guard because Luka Doncic has been taking advantage of Patrick Beverley, not because Patrick Beverley is not a decent defender. It's just that he's too big. If you put Kawhi Leonard on Shaq, what do you think is going to happen? Kawhi's a great player, defensive player, but he won't look like a great defensive player on Shaq. Obviously, he's too small. You're supposed to reserve Patrick Beverley for point guards and shooting guards, not small forwards who are 6'7". Are you kidding me? This is a coaching mistake. These are all just mental faux pas all over the place. All over the place. And I'm putting this at the foot of the coach. And the only person in the media that seems to have their head on their shoulders that was able to notice this is Max Kellerman. He's the only one that I've heard mention Ty Lue's name in all of this. Stephen A. Smith is just there saying his usual hyperbolic nonsense. Talking about Kawhi Leonard, you the man. Stephen A. Smith is just trying to get people to bite on what he's saying. He's not giving an analysis. He doesn't give any analysis. With Kawhi Leonard, you got to be the man. You got to come out and block out. What are you talking about? Are you watching the game? The problem the Clippers are having they have a bad game plan and strategy in this series. The coaching is the reason the Clippers are losing this series. Period. Has nothing to do with Kawhi Leonard. Some people say, well, Kawhi, unless you want Kawhi Leonard to go out there and stage a mutiny and say, get the hell out of my way, we're going to do what we want. That's the only way it's going to change. And I just heard that Rondo came out, and there was a huge argument in the locker room between Rondo, I think it was Rondo, Ty Lue, and someone else. This is the news that just came out. There was a huge, they could hear Rondo arguing and shouting in the background. And I'm happy, because he must be looking at these guys and saying, what are you doing? What kind of silly lineups are you running out there? Look at the end of that fourth quarter in the game 2. You had, Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson. Like, this guy is just there experimenting in the playoffs. What are these guys seeing? You're going to switch. So if you're going to switch, take Patrick Beverley off the floor, at least start Rondo, see how he plays, and take Zubac off the floor and go smaller. And he said, oh, we noticed that the small ball lineup was the only way the Clippers were able to get back in that game in game 1 is when they went small. That's the only way they were able to get back in the game. And you would think, okay, we discovered. No. Then he starts the game, and let's do it again. And then you wait for the whole half. Zubac gets abused. And then you make the switch in the second half. Why? This is a coaching. Let me tell you guys, if the Clippers lose this series, it's due to coaching. And if I was Kawhi Leonard at all of this, why would I stay to be a part of this again when I know the coach is going to be out there making silly decisions? Anybody could see this. Anybody with an eye can see this. I put all of this at the foot of the coach, because you can't blame it on Paul George like some people want to do. You can't. Go look at his numbers, so you're not going to criticize him. He's playing way better than he did last year, and he's playing way better. He's playing better than he played in the regular season. The only thing that's off is his three-point shooting. You're not going to mention Kawhi like some of you haters like to do. Sorry, try again. So these are my thoughts. What do you guys think about all of this? Because to me, I'm quite disgusted with the way things are happening. And if he doesn't change, the Clippers will lose this series. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Thank you guys for your attention again, and definitely catch you guys on the next episode. Have a great one.